Good morning, everyone. Let me start with a simple question. Have you ever noticed how the people around you shape your life, your energy, and even your dreams? It's often said that we become the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. So today I want to talk about something that can change your life forever. The 5 types of people you must stay away from. Have you ever spent time with someone who constantly finds something to complain about, no matter the situation? Their words seem to weigh down the air around them, and before you know it, their negativity starts creeping into your own thoughts. Constant complainers have a unique ability to suck the energy out of a room, to make even the brightest moments feel dull. They rarely see opportunities. Instead, they see obstacles. They rarely appreciate progress. Instead, they highlight flaws. Their perspective is often rigid. They focus almost exclusively on what is wrong rather than what could be right. When we interact with such individuals, it is easy to begin absorbing their mindset. Slowly, their complaints begin to shape your own thinking. You may start questioning your decisions, doubting your capabilities, or losing enthusiasm for the very things you once found exciting. Time spent with constant complainers can become time wasted, not because you are doing anything wrong, but because their lens of negativity filters everything through a pessimistic frame. The danger is subtle but significant. You may not even notice the impact at first because complaints often come wrapped in a tone of rationality. They will criticize the weather, the traffic, the system, or even people who are trying to make a difference. And while one complaint might seem trivial, repeated exposure conditions your mind to see life through a lens of scarcity, limitation, and dissatisfaction. Human psychology is wired to absorb social cues, and when negative cues dominate your environment, they become internalized. Even when you are alone, the echoes of constant complaining can influence your attitude, your productivity, and even your interactions with others. Constant complainers rarely take responsibility for solutions. Instead, they focus on the problem, and in doing so, they unintentionally train everyone around them to do the same. If you spend enough time with them, you may find yourself defaulting to excuses rather than action, adopting a mindset where problems are magnified and possibilities are minimized. The contrast between what could be achieved and what is perceived becomes increasingly distorted. Energy, which should be devoted to growth, creativity, and achievement, is slowly siphoned off, leaving a lingering sense of frustration and helplessness. It is important to understand that negativity is not just an emotional state, it is infectious. Just as laughter can spread and elevate the mood of a group, chronic complaining can spread unease, impatience, and discouragement. Surrounding yourself with individuals who are perpetually negative is like planting seeds in infertile soil. No matter how hard you try, growth becomes difficult and flourishing becomes uncertain. This is not about judging people or expecting perfection, but about recognizing the environments and relationships that nurture your own potential. Choosing to limit exposure to constant complainers is an act of self-preservation and self-respect. It is a conscious decision to protect your energy and mindset. It does not mean cutting out empathy or refusing to support others in times of need. Instead, it means drawing boundaries so that the patterns of negativity do not consume your own focus, your creativity, and your ambition. Life is a series of opportunities, challenges, and moments that require clarity, energy, and resilience. When your environment is dominated by constant complaining, it becomes increasingly difficult to approach life with the enthusiasm and optimism necessary to excel. By consciously seeking out positive, solution-oriented, and encouraging people, you align yourself with energy that propels you forward rather than holding you back. Every conversation becomes an opportunity to grow, every interaction a chance to learn, and every relationship a source of motivation. In contrast, time spent with constant complainers is like walking through fog. Movement is possible, but direction is lost. Guarding your space, your thoughts, and your energy against persistent negativity is not selfish, it is strategic. It is a deliberate step toward cultivating a mindset that thrives in opportunity rather than stagnates in complaint. Have you ever been around someone who never seems genuinely happy for your achievements, no matter how big or small? These people, often referred to as energy drainers, have a subtle yet powerful effect on the people around them. Their presence can leave you feeling tired, doubting yourself, or even questioning your own accomplishments. Energy drainers rarely celebrate success, whether it is yours or anyone else's. Instead, they may respond with jealousy, passive criticism, or dismissive comments. Their reactions are not just occasional lapses, they are patterns that, over time, erode confidence and dampen motivation. When you constantly engage with such individuals, their disapproval and envy begin to seep into your consciousness, shaping how you perceive your own efforts. The impact of energy drainers is often underestimated because it is not always overtly negative. Unlike constant complainers, energy drainers do not always criticize openly. Sometimes they mask their dissatisfaction with faint smiles, half-hearted compliments, or subtle remarks that undermine your sense of achievement. These small, persistent actions create an environment of tension and self-doubt. Human psychology is highly sensitive to social cues, and repeated exposure to envy or subtle criticism can condition your mind to anticipate disapproval rather than support. Over time, even your successes may feel diminished because the energy of those around you has conditioned you to undervalue your own accomplishments. Energy drainers also influence the way you approach your goals. If you share your ambitions with someone who is consistently unsupportive or jealous, you may begin to second-guess your decisions. You might hesitate to pursue opportunities, fearing judgment or comparison. Their energy acts like a silent friction on your forward momentum, slowing progress and making challenges appear more daunting than they truly are. Whereas encouragement from positive, supportive individuals fuels creativity and perseverance, the presence of energy drainers creates mental barriers, subtle distractions, and unnecessary emotional weight. The difference between being uplifted and being drained is often invisible until you step away and notice how exhausted, frustrated, or limited you feel. Another key aspect of energy drainers is their ability to distort perspective. When surrounded by individuals who downplay achievements or respond with jealousy, it becomes easy to internalize their mindset. You may start questioning whether your successes are meaningful or whether your efforts are worthy. This distortion can be particularly damaging because it interferes with your self-confidence at its core. Energy is one of the most valuable resources a person has, and when it is continuously siphoned off by the attitudes of others, your capacity to think clearly, innovate, and act decisively diminishes. It is essential to recognize that not all negative or critical people are energy drainers. Constructive feedback, challenges, and differing opinions are necessary for growth. What distinguishes an energy drainer is the consistent, pervasive effect they have on your emotional and mental state. They are not invested in your progress, and their primary response to your growth is comparison rather than celebration. The relationship may feel natural or unavoidable at first, but over time, the cumulative impact of their energy becomes apparent in both your mood and your ambition. Choosing to distance yourself from energy drainers is a conscious act of self-care and strategic thinking. It is a decision to protect your creativity, your motivation, and your ability to focus on what truly matters. Life is filled with opportunities, challenges, and moments of personal triumph, and these experiences require clarity, energy, and enthusiasm. Spending significant time with individuals who diminish your energy not only hinders progress, but also slowly erodes the joy that should accompany achievement. By consciously surrounding yourself with people who genuinely celebrate your successes, who encourage and motivate rather than envy and discourage, You create an environment that amplifies potential and fosters growth. There are people in our lives who offer feedback with the intention to help us grow. And then there are those whose criticism has nothing to do with improvement and everything to do with discouragement. Toxic critics fall into the second category. Their words are sharp, not to shape you, but to shatter your confidence. They don't guide, they judge. They don't uplift, they undermine. And the most dangerous part is that their criticism often comes disguised as honesty or just being real. Over time, if left unchecked, their words begin to penetrate the mind, altering the way you view yourself and your potential. Toxic criticism is not simply feedback. It is a consistent attempt to diminish your self-worth. These critics rarely acknowledge effort, progress, or intention. Instead, they magnify weaknesses, highlight mistakes, and turn even your strengths into points of ridicule. They make you feel as though nothing you do is good enough, and that no matter how hard you work, you will always fall short. Constructive feedback focuses on the action. Toxic criticism focuses on the person. When someone tells you your plan can be improved by doing this, that is guidance. But when someone says you will never be good at this, that is toxicity. The difference is subtle yet powerful. And recognizing it early is crucial to maintaining a healthy mindset. Toxic critics often project their insecurities onto you. Their words are rarely a reflection of your abilities. They are reflections of their own fears, limitations, or jealousy. Sometimes they feel threatened by your ambition. Sometimes your courage reminds them of the risks they were too afraid to take, and sometimes they simply lack the emotional maturity to support someone else's growth. Instead of admitting this, they choose to criticize, belittle, or mock. Their criticism becomes a shield, protecting them from confronting their own unrealized potential. Unfortunately, if you absorb their words, you end up limiting your own potential as well. The psychological impact of toxic criticism can be profound. When you hear repeatedly that you are not capable, not talented, or not deserving, your mind begins to internalize those beliefs. This creates self-doubt, hesitation, and fear of taking bold steps. You might find yourself avoiding opportunities or minimizing your dreams just to avoid further criticism. Toxic critics thrive on this. They feel validated when their negativity influences your behavior. What they say externally begins to echo internally, and soon they no longer need to criticize you directly because their voice has become embedded in your own thoughts. This is why it is essential to guard your mind against such voices. Surrounding yourself with toxic criticism is like putting a ceiling above your growth. You can only rise to the level of the energy and support around you. When that energy is consistently negative and discouraging, your progress slows, your creativity shrinks, and your confidence erodes. You begin to play small, not because you lack ability, but because someone has convinced you that you should. It is important to understand that avoiding toxic critics does not mean avoiding all criticism. Growth requires feedback, honest, constructive, and empathetic. The key is to distinguish between someone who wants to see you become better and someone who wants to see you give up. Constructive criticism corrects behavior. Toxic criticism attacks character. Constructive criticism inspires improvement. Toxic criticism instills fear. The difference lies in the intent and the impact. Choosing to distance yourself from toxic critics is not an act of arrogance. It is an act of protection. You are protecting your vision, your mental peace, your emotional strength, and your future. As you grow, your environment must also evolve. You need voices that sharpen you, not those that shatter you. You need people who challenge you with respect, not tear you down with hostility. When you recognize the influence of toxic critics and remove their power over your life, you reclaim the confidence to dream boldly, act decisively, and rise without apology. There are few things more damaging to a relationship, environment, or sense of inner peace than dealing with someone who consistently lies. Habitual liars are not simply people who make the occasional mistake or try to avoid an uncomfortable truth. They are individuals who weave deception into their daily interactions, often without remorse and without consideration for the emotional or psychological impact they leave behind. When someone lies repeatedly, trust becomes impossible, and trust is the foundation of all healthy human connection. Without it, conversations feel uncertain, relationships feel fragile, and your emotional stability becomes compromised. You begin to question not only what they say, but also your own ability to judge character. A habitual liar disrupts your mental clarity. Every time you interact with them, you are forced to decipher what is real and what is fabricated. This constant mental processing drains your energy, distracts your focus, and disrupts your peace of mind. Even simple conversations start to feel complicated because you are no longer listening to understand. You are listening to detect inconsistencies. The mind becomes alert, cautious, and overly analytical, not out of choice, but out of necessity. Over time, this tension can affect your productivity, your emotional well-being, and your ability to trust even honest individuals. The presence of a habitual liar creates an atmosphere of suspicion that lingers long after the conversation ends. The most concerning aspect of habitual liars is that their behavior often stems from deeply ingrained habits rather than occasional lapses. They lie for convenience, for attention, for manipulation, or simply to avoid responsibility. Their dishonesty becomes a pattern, a default way of navigating the world. And because they lie so often, they become skilled at disguising truth with charm, confidence, or emotional appeal. This makes their deception even more dangerous because it is not always easy to detect. By the time you realize the extent of their dishonesty, significant damage may already have been done, emotionally, professionally, or even financially. Spending time with a habitual liar slowly erodes your self-confidence. You may start questioning your memory, your intuition, or your judgment. You might replay conversations, trying to understand what was real and what was fabricated. This constant second-guessing steals your emotional stability. It interrupts your ability to move forward with clarity and conviction. When someone else's lies take up space in your mind, your own goals, responsibilities, and dreams begin to lose focus. Your sense of direction weakens because your mental energy is being consumed by confusion. One of the most damaging consequences of being around habitual liars is the way their behavior affects your perception of trust in general. After repeated exposure, you may find yourself becoming more guarded, skeptical, or distant, not just toward them, but toward everyone. This defensive posture might protect you in the moment, but over time it can isolate you, limit meaningful connections, and create barriers that healthy relationships should never have to overcome. A single liar can leave a long shadow over your interactions with trustworthy people. Distancing yourself from such individuals is not an act of harshness, it is an act of emotional responsibility. You are not obligated to carry the burden of someone else's dishonesty. You are not required to keep deciphering truths, minimizing harm, or repairing the damage caused by someone who refuses to communicate with integrity. Your mental clarity, emotional health, and personal growth depend on stable and honest interactions. When you remove habitual liars from your space, you free yourself from confusion, regain your sense of direction, and create room for genuine, transparent relationships. A life guided by truth becomes lighter, clearer, and more peaceful. When you protect yourself from the influence of those who constantly manipulate reality, you create an environment where trust can flourish, where relationships can strengthen, and where your own growth can unfold without the weight of deception holding you back. There comes a moment in everyone's life when a dream is born, an idea, a goal, a vision that lights up your spirit and fills you with excitement. But the moment you share that dream with the wrong person, its brightness can dim instantly. Dream stealers are individuals who, whether intentionally or unconsciously, discourage ambition and weaken the fire within you. They rarely believe in possibilities. They are more comfortable pointing out risks, failures, and obstacles. Their mindset is rooted in fear, doubt, and limitation. And if you allow their words to settle in your heart, your own dreams can begin to shrink. The most dangerous part is that dream stealers often appear in familiar forms. Friends, colleagues, relatives, or even people you genuinely respect. Their negativity is not always loud. Sometimes it is wrapped in concern, disguised as practicality, or delivered with a smile that hides envy. Dream stealers often speak from their own insecurities. They fear pursuing their own aspirations. So when they see someone else aiming high, it unsettles them. Your courage exposes their hesitation. Your vision reminds them of the goals they abandoned. Rather than confronting their own limitations, they project them onto you. They tell you that your dreams are unrealistic, risky, or impossible, not because they have analyzed your capabilities, but because they are silently wrestling with their own regrets. In their presence, your dreams feel heavier, harder, and less reachable. This emotional weight can quietly influence your decisions, making you doubt whether you should pursue what once felt inspiring and achievable. The influence of dream stealers is subtle but powerful. A single negative comment can echo in your mind for days. A dismissive tone can make you hesitate to take a next step. Their skepticism becomes a shadow that follows you into your planning, your efforts, and even your moments of progress. You might start shrinking your vision to match their expectations, not because your dream lacks potential, but because their voices have created mental barriers. The tragedy is not that dream stealers exist. The tragedy is when you start believing them. Dream stealers often speak with confidence, which is why their comments can feel convincing. They might say things like, "You should be more realistic," or "People like us don't achieve things like that." These statements are not based on facts but on fear. And if you absorb their fear, it begins to shape your decisions. Opportunities that once seemed exciting now appear risky. Challenges that once motivated you now feel overwhelming. Slowly, you begin walking in circles instead of moving forward. Your dream does not fail because it lacked potential. It fails because you allowed someone else's doubts to overpower your belief. Protecting your dreams requires discernment. You have to recognize whose opinions deserve space in your mind. Not everyone is qualified to speak about your journey. People who have never dared to dream big cannot guide those who do. People who surrender easily cannot understand the resilience required to succeed. And people who measure life by their limitations cannot envision the possibilities you see. When you share your dream with someone who genuinely supports you, their energy strengthens your determination. But when you share it with a dream stealer, their negativity weakens your confidence before you even begin. It is important to understand that distancing yourself from dream stealers does not mean becoming defensive or isolated. It means safeguarding the mindset you need to grow. It means choosing voices that uplift instead of discourage, opinions that inspire instead of intimidate, and relationships that help you rise rather than shrink. Dreams require nurturing. They require belief, encouragement, perseverance, and faith. The environment in which you place your dream determines how strongly it grows. Removing dream stealers from that environment ensures that your vision remains clear and your potential remains unblocked. When you protect your dreams from the influence of those who cannot see their value, you give yourself permission to pursue the life you truly want. You allow your vision to expand without interference. You build confidence from within instead of seeking approval from those who do not understand your journey. And in doing so, you reclaim the power that belongs to every dreamer. The power to grow beyond limitations and rise beyond doubt. The people you surround yourself with play a far greater role in shaping your mindset, progress, and future than you may realize. Your circle influences your habits, your self-belief, your energy, and even your dreams. Human beings naturally adapt to the environment they are placed in, and your environment is built in large part by the individuals you spend time with. When your circle is filled with positivity, ambition, and integrity, you begin to reflect those qualities without even trying. But when your circle is filled with negativity, jealousy, complacency, or discouragement, your potential becomes boxed in by their limitations. Choosing your circle wisely is not just a suggestion. It is a necessity for anyone who seeks growth, clarity, and long-term success. A strong, empowering circle acts as a mirror that reflects your strengths, reminds you of your capabilities, and pushes you to aim higher. These are the people who believe in your vision even when you doubt yourself. They celebrate your progress with genuine joy. They guide you when you feel lost. They challenge you respectfully when you fall short. Their presence creates an atmosphere where growth is not just possible, but inevitable. Their energy becomes fuel that helps you move forward with confidence and determination. The right circle does not compete with you. They collaborate with you, encourage you, and inspire you to become better than you were yesterday. On the other hand, the wrong circle drains your motivation and gradually weakens your inner drive. When you surround yourself with people who lack ambition, it becomes harder to stay disciplined. When you are constantly exposed to negativity, maintaining optimism becomes a struggle. When those around you criticize your efforts or minimize your achievements, self-doubt begins to grow. And when the people you trust fail to support your dreams, it becomes challenging to sustain belief in yourself. A toxic environment can make even the most capable person question their value and their direction. Your circle can either uplift your spirit or slowly suffocate your aspirations. One of the most powerful and often underestimated truths is that you absorb the mindset of the people closest to you. If you consistently interact with individuals who think small, fear change, or avoid responsibility, you may begin adopting similar patterns without realizing it. Your vision narrows, your ambition weakens, and your goals seem farther away. But when your circle is filled with positive thinkers, problem solvers, and dreamers, their energy elevates your own. You start to think more creatively, approach challenges with confidence, and view opportunities with excitement rather than fear. Your environment becomes a source of strength rather than a source of stress. Choosing your circle wisely also means valuing quality over quantity. You do not need a crowd, you need a core. A few genuine, supportive, and trustworthy individuals are more valuable than dozens of people who bring confusion or negativity into your life. This requires discernment, boundaries, and the courage to step away from relationships that no longer align with your growth. It is not an easy decision, but it is a necessary one. Growth demands selectivity, and part of maturity is understanding that not everyone who started with you is meant to stay with you. A wisely chosen circle creates a ripple effect in all areas of your life. Your mindset becomes stronger, your decisions become clearer, and your progress becomes faster. You learn to dream bigger because the people around you encourage it. You take bolder steps because they support it. You stay grounded because they remind you of who you are and who you are capable of becoming. When your circle is aligned with your values and your aspirations, life gains a sense of direction and purpose. Your journey becomes more meaningful and your potential becomes limitless. Surround yourself with people who expand your vision, not limit it. Choose those who challenge you to rise, not those who pull you back. Walk with those who push you toward a better version of yourself, not those who keep you tied to your past. Your circle is not just a part of your life, it is the foundation of your future. So today, take a moment to reflect. Are the people around you helping you soar or keeping you grounded in fear and doubt? Distance yourself from the wrong influences. Embrace the right ones and watch your life transform in ways you never imagined. Thank you, and remember, your circle shapes your destiny. Choose it wisely.